All right, everyone. Well, let's welcome Bisher to the Crypto Coach Will podcast. Bisher, you're from Stormrake. You've got over 10 years of experience in the crypto industry, been as long as I have now. Yep. So it's awesome to see an OG in the space, and welcome here this morning, my friend.
Thanks for having me, man. What an awesome setup you've got. I'm inspired. I've got to go home, go back to the office and do something similar.
It's the age of content, isn't it? We've got to break our back to do the content and get it out there for the people so they can learn.
Absolutely.
But Bisher, look, the first thing I want to crack into this morning, there's a big difference between Stormrake and exchanges out there.
Yep.
Stormrake is a brokerage. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the difference between exchanges and brokerages.
Happy days. So really the way we operate is more on like an agency model. So the same way you may have dealt with a mortgage broker, to get your own mortgage off the ranks, they're not just facing one institution and getting you one rate. The way they work is that they go across many different institutions, banks, non-bank lenders, to find you the most optimal rate for what you're looking to deploy into the market. And that's what we do for our investors who are looking to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. We're not just looking at one price. We're not just looking at one order book. We're looking at about 25 different exchanges, and we're fortunate to have access to about 6 different OTC desks. That allows us to get our clients the sharpest price possible to execute. So exchanges are great. I cannot advocate for them strongly enough because we use them ourselves.
Yeah.
But rather than having to face one exchange and one order book, then you'll
spread it out and find the best price out.
Correct.
Shop around.
And so the great thing about that is that like a lot of people might not realize this, but yes, there is the one Bitcoin price, the world price, but not every exchange is able to offer you close to spot, for different reasons. Sometimes they're trading at a premium, sometimes they're trading at a discount. Oftentimes there's a price markup built into the exchange as well, so that they can make some money on the spread as well.
Cool.
Whereas for us, we've been seeing, for example, to give you some real use cases, Coinbase has been trading at a massive discount relative to other exchanges recently, right? Usually there's something known as the Coinbase premium or the Coinbase discount. There's been a heavy load of US-based selling recently, and all of that is concentrated in Coinbase. So we can actually pick up cheaper Bitcoin for our investors than if they were facing, say, an Aussie exchange, which again, their Aussie exchanges are great. We use them ourselves, but we're able to pick up that discount and pass it on to the client.
And everyone wants a cheaper price, especially when you're doing a larger order, right? I can imagine, and we'll jump into, who your brokerage service is suited for and who it isn't. But, I can imagine for the people that are using it, they can be doing a larger volume usually. Is that correct? What is the average volume per trade that someone using Stormrake would be putting through?
Yeah, the average trade for us is around 50,000 Aussie at the moment. We do service anything from $2,000 and above. So if somebody wants to buy 2K of Bitcoin, they're a client or can be a client. But we usually find that a lot of investors find that anything over 50K, 100K, they're really getting maximum value from our service.
Makes sense.
And we're dealing with a lot of self-managed super funds, for example. These are, large capital deployments that aren't going to be recurring often. So they're going to come in, they're going to put 100, 200, 300K into the market, and they want it to be done properly, one cut, right? They're not going to have the time. And most of the people who are coming to us with their self-managed super funds, for example, they've got businesses to run, they've got families to raise, jobs to attend to, and so they would just much rather export that to us, and they'll still get the Bitcoin, and we can still pop it in their cold storage as well.
Talk me through the process. So, I wake up this morning, I see Bitcoin's in the dumps, and I kind of go, I wouldn't mind taking advantage of that. I want to buy some Bitcoin. How do I do that through Stormrake?
Well, if you've already got an account with us, it's just a phone call or email.
Okay.
So the whole point of the service is to have it as personalised as possible. So that way, if you're somebody who's really busy and on the road all the time, just text or email might be sufficient.
Right.
If you're somebody...
WhatsApp is...
WhatsApp, all good.
Awesome.
Telegram, no issues. And so then what it really comes down to is that you've got these range of options as to how you can place your order. So you don't have to worry about logging in, putting in your 2FA token, answering the security question, jumping in, depositing, waiting for the deposit to land. A lot of our best clients that have got great trading history with us, they can just trade via phone without even having to have the funds with us.
Okay.
So they can come in, we've had clients who've done, half a mil, $2 mil of volume, trading volume with us. They'll just call in and be like, hey, I'm on the way to the bank. Can you just buy me 100K of Bitcoin?
Nice.
Done.
And I suppose like the natural next question I have is what's settlement time like? Is there any times that someone calls? Is it within half an hour, like seconds? How quickly does it get executed?
Within minutes,
Wow.
right? So the whole point of the reason why it's not instant is that we actually do put the order through our own trading platform, which isn't client facing, it's just internal. And it routes it to whichever venue is giving us the best price.
Okay.
And so that's why there's that, and then you'll get the confirmation in your inbox. In terms of settlement on the actual withdrawal itself, we do have for whenever somebody provides us a new wallet, we'll do a test transfer first. Once you confirm it's received, then we'll give you the full balance, and it's pretty straightforward. So usually from the time that the trade is placed to when it's actually in your wallet, it's within 24 hours, but the actual price being locked in is within minutes of the phone call or email itself.
There you go. So, Bitcoin can be quite volatile. As I say, we're in particularly a period of very high volatility, right?
100%.
So I have that kind of, is there assurance of that? What's the longest it can be? What if it's at night, 9 o'clock at night that I want to buy or something like that? Is that with business hours only?
Yeah, so the trading desk is open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we do encourage our clients that if they wake up and see some volatility overnight in the US session, just give us a call first thing in the morning. We'll be ready to rock and roll. That 8 to 8 coverage is fantastic because you'll still have a broker on a Saturday, a Sunday. There's oftentimes some of our brokers are at the golf course on a Sunday, 3 o'clock. And they'll literally get a phone call from a client. They're like, hang on, just one moment. And then they'll hit the shot and then they'll take the call. So it's always available, right? During those trading hours. And then what's really exciting is that we've been in the lab building away some really cool tools. So we're going to have a trading tool that's available for our clients that will take care of after hours trading.
Cool. That's nice.
Similar to how you're probably used to the Uniswap interface. But you'll have, instead of just having tokens, you can have an AUD come in as the drop down or US dollars, depending on which fiat currency you're trying to swap. And then it's going to be that same interface that a lot of DeFi OGs like yourself are used to, what you're selling, what you're receiving, and then that's it. Hit the swap.
You'll have that option a little bit. If I want to call, if I want to text, I want to send an email, I can. Or if I want to use this, it's coming. Do you know how long it'll be?
It'll be before the end of financial year.
Awesome.
Which is really exciting. It lines up. It lines up with the same time we're launching into the United States. So we're opening an office in Dallas, and because of the time zone difference, we need that trading tool live right away. Because I don't think our American clients will be happy to hear that. Sorry, it's 3 a.m. in Melbourne. I couldn't take your call.
Of course.
So that's why we're lining it up there. So it's quite exciting because we'll be at the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas. Hopefully.
I was there last year with Donald and we're going to drill baby drill and all the rest of the crap that he goes on about.
Hopefully you could come back again. It'll be nice. I think you and I in Vegas would be a lot of fun.
Dangerous.
But no, it should be exciting. So that's a bit of the service.
Awesome. Now, I suppose to wrap up this section of talking about the service, that question I have is who is the brokerage service suited to and who's it not suited to? And also, what's your probably strongest demographic with age? Talk to me a bit through that.
100%. I mean, let's start with who we're best suited for, and then we'll touch on who might not be able to take advantage of our service. Really, what we're best designed for is the busy professional, successful executive, somebody who's running their business. A retiree or soon to be retired, and somebody who wants to deploy capital into Bitcoin and digital assets, not necessarily for the first time, but in a meaningful way. So they might have a property portfolio, so they might have a buyer's agent and a real estate agent. They might have a stock portfolio, so they were used to having a stockbroker. So we fit in as a complement to that, wealth management team, that advisory team, as the crypto specialists. And so they come to us to be able to do that. So anybody who's looking to deploy any meaningful capital, we do have a minimum transaction of $2,000 or above. But we say that the sweet spot for our clients is that if you've got a portfolio that's going to be $50,000 or more, then we're your guys.
Nice.
Well, we still have clients though who come to us as just as a reliable on ramp. So some people come to us and they might only have $5,000 to deploy into the market, and they want to buy a bunch of different tokens. They still come to us and go AUD to USDT because we've got some of the best AUD rails in the country. And then we get them the sharpest USDT conversion, and then that goes to their MetaMask or Phantom or wallet or whatever it may be, depending on which
Gotcha.
chain they're on.
Yep.
And then they can have at it. And that's the thing about our list as well. Our token list is only about 30 tokens deep.
Yep.
And they're rigorously tested in terms of what we're going to have on the list.
I actually quite like that, because I think, you can get overwhelmed as a user going on to, particularly an international exchange, and there's tokens for days. You don't even know what they are. Yeah. And, you can be looking at which ones have done 30% in a day and get sucked in as a beginner, think that's the way to go, right?
Yeah.
But and you and I align very clearly on, our investment thesis and how people should approach the market. Build value into the Bitcoins, the Ethereums as a starter, and then high value ones and ones that you've strength tested on the platform. So I actually prefer that, to be honest, than having this massive array.
Yeah.
Obviously, if something's gaining traction, do it, test it, put it on, but no need to just have everything available to people. There's other ways to go and get that.
Well, and I advise my clients that if you do want to play in the trenches, it's fine to do so. I love being on chain myself personally, but you can buy Ethereum and Solana from Stormrake and get incredibly sharp rates, withdraw that, and then get on chain. You can have $100 of whatever you want to play around with, and then use Phantom, use MetaMask, get used to being on chain. That's not a problem at all. Still use us as a reliable on-ramp, but you don't want your broker to be buying you $500 worth of Penguin tokens, right? Like the Penguin that went to face the mountains, that one was pretty cool. So I was like, oh, that makes sense to me. I'll buy some Penguin, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to call up my investors or people who've got their retirement accounts with us and be like,
personal risk. It's a very short time frame. You're probably going to be in it.
Correct.
Different strategy, right?
Correct. And it's but I don't want to gatekeep that from from traders and investors. I'm like, I'm all for it. Definitely have a pursue and have a punt, but you don't need a handheld white glove service to take care of that for you. Use us as the on ramp and then do what you want from there. And that's part of that empowerment and that enablement that I love about your business in particular, is that you're coaching investors as to what's outside of Bitcoin, ETH, Sol. Those are your Mac daddies. That's what you build your portfolio upon.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then the rest of it, there are genuine, asymmetric opportunities outside of the big
core.
Three.
Yeah.
And so that's where you really come in and step in. So that's where I say to my clients, come in, get yourself a boatload of Bitcoin, chuck it in cold storage. We'll take care of that for you.
Yep.
And then get on chain, use your ETH, use your Sol, and then make sure that, you having genuinely good education and insights, where this is where you step in to make sure that you're maximizing your on-chain activity as well.
For sure. Now, honestly, looking forward to working with your clientele. We want to do some in-person events together as well.
Absolutely.
Or more webinars together, just educating people on what they should be doing. And, especially in times like now with the market, how it is, a lot of people can get worried and not sure what to do. Really looking forward to working on that stuff with you. What you're talking about there in terms of custody, that's what I want to go into next. Take a drink of water if you need. Yeah. But custody is such an important thing. A lot of people say if you don't have your keys, you don't have the coins. But I've seen examples where some clients are not suited to having their own custody and having their own private keys. So talk us through. You mentioned a little bit there about custody, but if I choose to use Stormrake's custody, how does that work? And then do you prefer people to take their own custody? How do things work at Stormrake?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, for me, custody operates as a bit of a continuum, a bit of a spectrum. A lot of people assume it's either you got to use institutional custody at Stormrake, or you have to self-custody so that you adhere to the tenets of not your keys, not your coins. I think that it's not as binary as a lot of people expect it to be.
I agree.
For me, I say, look, it comes down to what it is that you're trying to achieve. So to give some real color and context, some of our clients have multiple accounts with us, a self-managed super fund account, a personal account, and maybe a joint account with their husband or wife, right? So the SMSF account, they're buying usually just Bitcoin.
Okay.
Right? And then that Bitcoin stays on our institutional custody, all insured, all safe, all vaulted, no problems, right?
Say who you use or how that works?
Yeah, so we have a third-party custodian.
Yep.
Zodia Custody is who we're using. They're insured by Lloyd's of London, so you get the absolute creme de la creme in terms of custody solution.
Yep.
They don't face individual clients. So an individual couldn't just go up and use them. They only face institutions such as ourselves. And so the client who is wanting to pass audit every year with their self-managed super fund, and they're not wanting to faff about with self-custody for their retirement funds, then we do advise that it's probably better to stay with us. But if they're going into their own individual or their own joint account, then that's when I say to my clients, I'm like, look, Bitcoin isn't meant to be gate kept. It's not meant to just be a UTXO that you just leave in your wallet to gather dust.
Of course.
Get on chain, use ETH, use Sol. They're fantastic assets. And the myriad of options that are in front of you should be explored. And so that's where I say to my guys and my clients, I'm like, use the right type of account for what it is that you're trying to achieve. And so that's really what it boils down to. So custody is...
It's not even benefit to yourself, people going on chain and whatnot, but that's, what you stand for, right? You want people to be getting the most out of their investment. And, if they come back and then do the next on-ramp or off-ramp through Stormrake, then great. But is that right?
100%. For me, custody it's more important to myself that our clients feel empowered to get on chain and to use Bitcoin the way it's intended to be used, which is self-custodied and on-chain. I just think from my perspective, I don't really gain much if just people just leave boatloads of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana on us. It's a client liability in a way, right? We take it super seriously. There's no rehypothecation. We're not lending it out. We're not doing anything other than just sticking it in cold storage and not touching it. And so it's super important that anybody who comes to me who's, say, parking millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin knows that they get their own dedicated on-chain wallet address. They get to see their holdings on-chain 24/7. They know that there's no movements in or out, so they can see that themselves. That transparency for us is super important because custody is not meant to be sexy. It's not meant to be fast. It's not meant to be...
keeping your funds safe, right?
Just keep your funds safe. If anything, we try to add in friction towards the withdrawal mechanism. So that way, and so for example, we have a phone call verification with all of our clients. So the email may come in, so you might buy 50 grand of Bitcoin from me. You go and send me an email with your public wallet address, please withdraw. We'll do the test, we'll get everything ready to go, but just before we hit send on the full balance, I'll give you a call, or one of my associates will give you a call and say, hey, Will, just about to process that Bitcoin withdrawal. Are we all good to go? You'll say, yep, or no problems, and we're saying full balance or partial amount. You'll say, no, full balance, thank you very much. Done. And so that's part of that service that we provide, because if your logins or your 2FA gets compromised, then and it's on exchange, it could potentially get drained. Whereas with us, we've got that kind of that human secondary layer to prevent that from happening. And for us, it's like I'd much rather clients learn how to self-custody. But the thing is that usually it's not a technical limitation with self-custody that concerns me. It's more so the reverse engineering that usually occurs. So, but with your guys, they're so well educated that I don't have to worry about that at all. But the average layman or woman who's coming in and trying to use our service, which is perfect for them, especially when they've got handheld brokerage and white glove custody services, then what really boils down to is, if you do self-custody, we don't doubt you've got the technical capabilities, because it's quite easy. Who doesn't know how to write down 24 words, right? But it's about, do you have the right OPSEC? Do you have the right online hygiene? Do you know what a impersonator or perpetrator would look like who's trying to get
educating, informing around what can happen and best practices? And
it's an ongoing thing. Like I've 100%. Found that like you can, it's not just having the conversation once and then it's like a box ticking exercise where you say, have you learnt this? It's a constant reminder. I've even had people recently online impersonating myself. And I had like this
thousands of it. It's ridiculous.
I had a really strange phone call from a client. And they're like, Bisher, I've had a really good think about your offer recently, and I've decided to decline the investment opportunity. I said, I'm really sorry.
Some automated trading service or some sell the dream crap.
I said, sorry, I didn't pitch you anything. Like, I don't speak to clients these days myself. I've got a team around me that speaks to our clients. And I said, I haven't pitched you anything. Like, oh, you were on Facebook Messenger and you had this like cloud mining AI trading robot. Ridiculous. And I was like,
Not me.
Not me, buddy. But it's important that we always educate our clients that, I'll never DM you. I'll never solicit you.
That's the bane of our existence.
100%. If you come into my shop or, you inquire on our website or you call the office, absolutely, you can speak to myself. Yeah. But I don't solicit business through Facebook Messenger.
That's it. Yeah. That's good. Well, I want to just touch a little bit more on, the relationship with the brokers. So you've got, how many brokers do you have now at Stormrake?
4 senior brokers and 4 associate brokers, so Beautiful. 8 in total, yeah.
That's good. That's nice. And, what can a client expect? They sign up, they do a transaction. Do they, is it more on the client to call the broker if they have questions? Does the broker reach out to them? How does the relationship work?
Yeah, absolutely. So the broker only reaches out when there's genuinely meaningful volatility in the market to take advantage of. Mm-hmm. So if we have like a face melting rally, we start having conversations with our clients about what's your exit strategy, what are your take profits, are you going to be wanting to take some of the alts into Bitcoin, or are you wanting to take Bitcoin to stables or cash? So that's the kind of conversation we have. And then now that we've been seeing this power slide to the downside, the brokers are right on the phone straight away. Hey, this is an incredibly important pocket. We're below sailor's entry. We're at 73,000. Chances are that we tag the low 60s before a meaningful reversal, but we're starting to prepare the engines for massive limit orders. So, and then the client can always call in if they ever have a concern about their portfolio or anything. Each of our investors are paired with a dedicated broker. So whilst they can call in and speak to the office in general if they have an inquiry or just a general question about their account, but if they want specific insights on their portfolio and what's happening with the markets, they have a dedicated broker who they have a dedicated line to. And so that way they're not going to be passed around and handheld and walk through a different service every time they call in. It's like, who am I expecting today?
Yeah.
You can always, and again, because we're running a desk that's 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, we do have a rotating roster for the junior staff. Yep. But the senior brokers, you will always have the one person to have a relationship with, and that really removes a lot of the guesswork.
For sure, yeah. Obviously, a lot of it, clients coming from pure auth, like you say, like they're a bit more educated. They've got good information behind them, but sometimes, it's just good to bounce the idea to human, you know what I mean? And that's a big advantage for Imperial Wealth clients that are watching this, that I can see with Stormrake is, just they have all the analysis there. Sometimes it's hard to execute. They can call up if they're with Stormrake. This is what I'm kind of seeing, and maybe get a second opinion on it. It's really up to the individual what they do at the end of the day. We don't provide financial advice. We just show our clients what we're doing in the market. Are we always right? No. So don't get in the trap of paralysis by analysis and trying to ask every man and his dog out there. You're just going to end up absolutely crumbling. But the great thing is you at Stormrake, your brokers will be able to see their Imperial Wealth clients and be able to have that conversation. We'll have you looked at the analysis that your team's providing and whatnot. So that's what I really attracted me to having this conversation now, getting Stormrake across to, it doesn't matter if you're using exchanges, what's the harm in setting up an account with Stormrake, seeing if the brokerage service is better suited to you. And for some people, it definitely is. And it's been a very successful business. I've met a lot of people at the Australian CryptoCon that were with Stormrake and love the service. So look, I'm honestly really excited for, our clients to get across it. We'll jump into the fun stuff, let's have a little bit of a chat about the markets. I laugh because a lot of people don't like negative price action, and I gobble it up. I mean, I've been dollar cost averaging at the moment on my socials running, I think I'm about day 15 of buying just $1,000 of Bitcoin every single day at the moment.
Nice.
As soon as Trump said he's going to try and strong arm and take over Greenland and push NATO to do what he wants to do, I was like, shit's going to hit the fan here, as it always does. Market started collapsing from there. We've had 4 or 5 events since then that have brought it down further. But, when I see these things, I just put a dollar cost average plan in. I think we probably are in a bear market to preface where I'm at. And I think we'll probably slide down a bit further. But, what's your thoughts, Bisher? Where do you think we're at?
Yeah, it's been a crazy 12 months where I thought we were going to be having, a genuine run at 200K. Especially in 2025, we had probably one of the most fortunate macro backdrops. We had the pro-crypto president. Even more recently, we've had the appointment of Kevin Warsh as a Federal Reserve Chair, and he's had some, really positive comments about BTC. But we've actually traded in the opposite direction. We've been, I would say, not bearish, but we've been conservative with our allocations since about November of 2025. So I wouldn't like this. I don't want to portray myself as a top caller and a bottom picker. Like, we're usually within 10 to 20% of it. We're usually right. And so we've just said, hey guys, let's just have a bit more of a conservative approach ever since November. So we rotated all of our clients out of alts back then. But for the first time in a long time, I'm actually starting to really look at Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol as very, very attractive long-term plays right now. I would say if we start getting closer to that sub 2K mark on ETH, we bounced last time around from around 1,500. Anything sub 2K is very attractive. Sol's already in a range which is already very attractive for us, which is below 100, and BTC is starting to get below 70, which is again a very attractive long-term level for us. So, and I myself have been dollar cost averaging. I bought a parcel at 88K. And then I bought another parcel at 80, thinking we were going to have some meaningful bounce off the recent local lows we posted back then. We didn't have that. And then I bought again at that 73, 74K pocket, which is where we had that reversal in April of 2025.
No one knows the bottom, right? You know, like you can't just wait until what it could get lower. I might think it's going to go lower, but I'm very, confident that it could bounce tomorrow, no one really knows. So that's the best way to do it.
100%. And so it's like, and as we get deeper and deeper into the correction and into the bear market, I size my positions more aggressively. So my 88K parcel was around 10K.
Little play setup.
My 80K parcel is around 20. Now my 73K parcel is around 30,000 in size.
Perfect.
And so if we come down to that low 60s, I'll start putting in 40, 50K parcels. And then anything below 60, I'm just going to back the truck up. I'm going to sell the watch, sell the suits. I'm just sell it all.
No suits anymore. Just thongs and singlets.
Whatever I can just manage to just get rid of. But that's the way I see it, right? Is that a lot of people, they go full hog when the market is ripping to the upside, and I saw it recently in silver. When the market was ripping to the upside, that's just when people are like, oh, confirmation bias, herd mentality, I'm just going to buy. And then they got absolutely wrecked because it went from 120 down to 74 in a 24-hour period, a 40% drop. Toasted. Right?
I think, dialing back to one of the first things you said, I was the exact same. I thought we'd probably see 140 to 180K, towards the back end, like around this time, and we're not there, right? And everyone thinks that, if you guys are in the market so often, like, how do you not, pick the top? Like, no one picks the top and bottom. It's not how it works, and you just have to adapt. And I think the biggest mistake that people make is when we come into, I might call it bearish activity, right? Or, a downward trend. When we come into that, they don't flip their psychology. During the bullish times, it is about profit taking, and you're getting the dopamine rushes of seeing things, 2x or 3x, whatever it is. And that's great. But when the market shifts, that's when you need to switch your mentality to accumulation. You need to be looking at assets like Bitcoin. And, now if I buy $10,000 or $20,000 worth of Bitcoin, I'm getting more Bitcoin than if I was buying it up at those higher prices. So that's really the biggest thing, that we really run home with our clients. It's not about picking the bottom, not about picking the top. It's about shifting your risk, as you say, and your psychology, your mentality during periods of growth and during periods of downturn. So
100%. Like, distressed asset investing is like one of the best ways you can really compound your wealth and accelerate your wealth. So, when real estate got crunched in the GFC, great time to buy real estate. When tech stocks got crunched during the .com bubble bursting, great time to buy technology stocks. It's like the great thing is, like, there was this really powerful interview with Jeff Bezos when he was talking about how he was right there in the thick of the Amazon build in the early 2000s, and he was seeing the stock price go from 10, 8, 5, $1, and it was getting absolutely toasted in the market. And he goes, but then I was coming into the office every day and we were getting more orders out, our revenues were growing, our margins looked better. And it's like the market was completely devoid of trading on any sort of fundamentals.
Of course.
But now it's the inverse. If the market is trading at massively inflated PEs, and they're maybe it is a good time to take profit, because when there's froth and there's that liquidity to the upside, that's a far better time time to try to be exiting than, trying to exit when everybody else is trying to sell. Now is a much better time to put in that strong buy wall. And I'm saying to our investors that, look, if we lose 70 and we get below that previous all-time high that we set in 21, 68K, 70K, I said, let's just hold the horses for a second, right? And then 50K or around 50 to 55, just max full send. And it's like that scene from Braveheart where it's like, hold, bang, and then we go for it. You know, it's literally just going to be the most prolific buy wall that has ever been set in Australian history. I'm going to see you, I'm going to call you, we're going to have the trading floor absolutely energized that time. But it's like, that's the rewards.
You have to be like, that's the way you have to look at it. You can't, in Braveheart, imagine they didn't have the strength and they just were coward and tried to, they don't win, right? So you got to hold that line. I like the analogy that you used there. That's good. Look, it's a good coverage of Stormrake, good coverage of yourself, Bisher. Been in the space for such a long time. Anything that you want to, wrap things up on? Any comment on the market, comment on the service? Hand it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people come to us and they talk about Bitcoin, and then most of their conversations around Bitcoin is around price, right? And because of its volatility, I understand why the conversation gravitates towards price, but I just want to start having more conversations around what Bitcoin can do for you outside of just price appreciation, right? Bitcoin is a real world asset that has genuine utility that can be deployed whenever you like, right? I use Bitcoin at the Fox Hotel just around the corner in Collingwood. They accept Bitcoin, right? And they have a Bitcoin pub meetup every second Friday when I'm going to one next week.
Nice.
So I'll take some of the brokers, we're going to get some schooners and a chicken parma, and it's paid for in Bitcoin.
Nice.
And that's what Bitcoin is all about. It's a peer-to-peer electronic cash network. That's what it was, the first line in Satoshi's white paper, and that's how I want to use it. It's permissionless money. Right. But sometimes people are like, is it an asset? Is it a currency? Is it speculative at best? I say no. It's just at its simplest and purest form, Bitcoin is money. So my commentary to the audience and the investors who are watching at home, which is learn how to use Bitcoin as money, as it was intended, and see how powerful it is. It's genuinely like, it becomes less about this, percentage and dollar gain asset that you've got on an online platform or in your cold wallet that you just check in on periodically, and it goes from an everyday part of your life that you're like, okay, I need more of this. And you're no longer price sensitive at that point because you genuinely believe in the asset class because you've benefited from its utility. And I'm sure you've probably got your own war stories as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think I think in Australia we're a bit behind the eight ball, which is kind of unfortunate. Overseas, we were talking before, I bought my watch. I was over in Dubai.
Nice. It's a nice watch as well. Very nice.
I love it as well. You become attached to them. They're nice pieces of work. But yeah, I was over there, and you can just go, and it just feels normal. I asked, can I pay in cryptocurrency? Of course, mate. What do you mean? Money is money. Okay, no worries. You ask someone to show, what's that crypto? I don't know. And it's just exactly what you say. They haven't set up a wallet. They haven't set up an exchange. They don't know if it's real. To them, it is fake. So I couldn't agree with you more. Just get stuck into it. If it is the start of your journey, just go and buy a little bit of Bitcoin. Call Stormrake as a broker. Get them to, set up. Help you set up your exchange. Set up your custody wallet. And then you're off to the races. You can engage just like anything else. So,
absolutely.
Nice note to finish it on. Anything else? And
look, guys, I've been in the markets now for 10 years. Will is the same. And, when you've got people who have had a combined 20 years of experience in the market together saying that this is one of the most attractive buying opportunities we've seen in over 4 or 5 years, you should perk up your ears and listen up, because this is starting to get to the point where it is an absolute distressed asset market, and it's a buyer's wet dream. So sorry, I didn't mean to be so crass, but it is exactly it's exactly what we're looking for. You know what I mean? And genuinely, you don't get many opportunities like this, and I know a lot of people find it quite fearful to buy in these levels because, when we were around in the FTX debacle in December 22, it dropped from 23K down to 15,000 after already being, completely smashed from 60 plus. And I know how hard it was at that time. I had investors who called me saying, I've had enough, I'm out. And I said, look, make yourself a cup of tea, call me back. If you genuinely still want to sell, we're not going to be moving that far off 15, 16K for the time that it takes for you to boil a cup of tea and come back to me. And they go, yeah, all right. And then they call me back. They're like, they've had a breather, they've had some peppermint tea, and they're like, all right, what's the play here? And I said, if anything, selling now is definitely not ideal. If you want to sell, pull the trigger. You'll have the funds in your bank account by the time I hang up the call. Right? No, there's no problem with that. It's a liquid 24/7 market. All I'm saying is that you got to be patient with this investment. I said, now is the best time to be buying. I had people who bought with me at 40K at the time. I said, if we can buy an equivalent amount that you have now at 15,000, we're going to bring the acquisition price to 25K. I said, now they're like, oh, I don't have another spare 100K lying around. And I'm like, all good. Start now, right? Start DCAing. Even if it's $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, it will slowly chip away and bring that DCA down. And I had a few people actually redeem that DCA offer with me, and they were able to size or match their initial investment that they put in, which was at the time near a local top. They were able to match it again, buy in with me, and then they are now their average acquisition price is closer to 25,000 US. So despite the recent pullback, they're still up over 200% over 3 years, despite the volatility, despite the recent correction. But if they didn't redeem that option with me, then they would be less than 100% up than where they are now. So you could literally double your expected return profile just through some simple dollar cost averaging. Because for me, Bitcoin isn't going anywhere. It's an asset that's going to be around for the next 500 years, right? So that's why I'm like, okay, it's trading at a relative discount. I think, just position yourself some more.
You know, you mentioned you had your own dollar cost average strategy in place, and as it goes lower, that you'll get larger. I think don't let yourself get to that point that it gets to so low that you're going, I'm out, because that's because you failed to plan. If you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail, right? And that's more important. That's the message I like to send home is, for me, buying during this volatility, every day it's lower, I'm happy because I'm seeing the larger amount of Bitcoin. So if you start it now and you just DCA as it goes down, as you get towards the bottom, you don't get to that point that you're like, oh no, like it's just keep on going down, because you're committed to buying and buying and buying. So yeah, that's you know, pretty much the same way, but different way of looking at it, I guess. But I like the story, you know, for people that are getting nervous even now, don't worry about it. You know, there's no better asset that I see. Property's a joke in my eyes, particularly for people if that's what all they're trying to go into. It's taking people 10 years to buy a property these days and just losing to inflation in the meantime. So look, we'll finish it there because we will talk forever.
that sets us up for our second round where we can have like an asset class versus equities, crypto, metals, property.
I like it.
Get a panel.
I like it. Well, for next time, it's definitely not the last time that we'll have a chat, so we'll save it for then. Thank you so much, Bisher. And guys, try out Stormrake. Great gentleman Bisher is. His team's awesome. I personally know Brody, one of their senior brokers, went to school with him as well. So feels like a little family already, and looking forward to hearing our clients' feedback on it. Thanks, Bisher.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.